Making videos isn't as easy as it looks. Hello and welcome back to the weekly crypto review. So, some of you may have noticed last week I didn't put a video out. And the reason for that was I created the video, but I couldn't get the time under 40 minutes, and I know that nobody wants to listen to me talk for an hour. So today I'm going to try and get the same information that I had last week, but I'm going to try and do it in less than 10 minutes. So let's get started. First off, as always, if you find this information valuable, please be sure to subscribe, share, give a like, thumbs up. If you'd like to, you're always free to send crypto to any of the addresses that you find at cryptocurious.tv/support. And for those of you who have been tipping me on Library, thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated. So let's go on and see what we've got. Looking at the last 7 days, Bitcoin is up nearly 10%. That is a really good return. Last week we were up quite a bit. I don't believe we were up quite 10%, but we were up quite a bit. If we look at the big winners for the last week, again, a lot of it is coins that are little known and on exchanges where wash trading can allow seemingly huge returns. Kick token. I don't know what it is, never heard of it, but it's up 116.5% over the last 7 days. That's a bit ridiculous. Okay, but on the other hand, we've got Litecoin down here. It's up 21.9, almost 22%. Cardano, ADA, is up 21.5%. Let's see here. What else do we have? Just a couple more real quick. Ontology, 17, almost 18% in the last week. Even Bitcoin Cash is up to 15.5%. Things are going up, and that's a good thing. That's a good sign. Back here, when I first said, hey, based on this doji, I believe that the Bitcoin is going to start going up in the next couple of weeks. Well, so far, I've been correct. I know that a doji, certainly a spinning top followed by a doji where the open and close price is near the top of the shadow, is a really good sign that we're going to have a reversal. Things are going to turn around. Now that things are turning around and Bitcoin is up to, well, at this point, $9,300, a little over $9,300, people are starting to look at it and say, okay, this is great. We're almost at 10,000. And as soon as we get to 10,000, we're going to hear a lot of people in the media on your favorite cable network talking about Bitcoin again. Now, as it goes even further, $15,000, $20,000. Now, I don't expect it to go up above $20,000 or even get close to $20,000 until next year. The end of this year, beginning of next year. We'll put it that way. Based on the way the markets have worked in prior halvings, and the halving comes up in May of this year, it's usually 8 to 10 months after that the price goes back up to the prior all-time high, which in this case would be up here at $20,000. Okay? That's the way the market has reacted before. So we've got a year or more before it gets up to the $20,000 mark. And based on my experience with markets, I know that typically when a market goes up and it peaks and then drops again, the drop is typically higher than where the drop of the previous market was. Okay? The low of the bear market down here was at $214. Whereas up here, the low of the bear market was at $3,200. So what that means is that after this next peak, after this bull market ends, and we go into a bear market, most likely that bear market is going to drop down, but it's not going to drop down to as low as $20,000. Based on what we've seen in these markets before, in crypto before, I'm going to say, and this is just a guess, it's an educated guess, but I'm going to guess that the next bull market will bring us down to about between $30,000 and $40,000. This assumes that we go up to the $250,000 per Bitcoin that I think we're going to. Now, having said that, what that means is that Bitcoin, and this is, of course, none of this is financial advice in any way, but what that would indicate is that Bitcoin is a good buy up to about $30,000. If you buy it below $30,000, you're probably going to be happy no matter what the markets do in that next bear market. Okay, but now let's talk about other things. Let's talk about altcoins. How do you find a good altcoin, and why would you want to? Okay, one of the things, this whole preamble that I've just gone through is a long-winded way of talking about buy low, sell high. Now, I know you've heard buy low, sell high. Everybody has. The problem is most people don't understand what that means. What that means is that you buy an asset when no one else wants it, when everyone else is talking about what a horrible asset it is, and how horrible it, the worse people talk about it, chances are the better the asset is. Let me give you an example. In 2008, when Satoshi was working on Bitcoin, what's the one thing that you never would have picked up as a stock? Banks. Let's go up here and look at, let's see here. I guess we can do Chase. Yeah, JP Morgan Chase. And let's scroll out here. All right, so 2008 is right here. This is actually it's 2009. So February 2009, which is where we're really looking at. This is where the banks were at their most hated. Remember back to 10 years to 2009. Everybody was talking about how the banks had put us into a recession. They were too big to fail. Right there, the president of the United States is saying, we're going to prop this company up. These companies, we're going to prop these companies up no matter what they do, no matter how bad their business practices are. Well, right there is a signal from the U.S. government saying, buy these stocks. Because we're not going to allow these companies to fail, no matter what happens. And if you had bought, let's put it down here, let's see, at this point, which was the end of February 2009, the low was at $18. I know that actually it goes lower than that. There was a point here where the stock was as low as about $12 per share. If you had bought JP Morgan Chase stock at this point, you'd be really happy because currently the price per share is $133 per share. How many times is that? Well, not quite 130 times what you bought it at because we're $12. But if it were, we're talking over 100 times increase in 10 years. That's kind of slow for what we're used to in crypto, but still, it's 100x. If you had bought JP Morgan Chase as an example at the bottom, right in the middle of the housing crisis, the banking crisis, when everybody was talking about how the banks had done nothing but rip us off, how the banks had created the recession that we were currently in at the time. The smart money bought in at those low prices, knowing full well the government was not going to allow these banks to fail. And they didn't, and of course, anybody who bought the stock of the banks prospered right along with those banks. The fact that those banks are doing exactly what they did 10 years ago right now makes no difference. In fact, when this whole thing blows up again next year, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to wait for the price to bottom out, and I'm going to buy stock in banks, JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan Chase has been around for over 100 years. I know it's a good, solid bank, and the government has assured me that they're never going to let this bank fail. That's a guarantee. And as I've said many times, in this business, nobody makes guarantees. All right, that seems worth buying. So again, when the stock drops during the next recession, wait for it to bottom out, and I'm going to buy. So how does this relate to crypto? I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look at, let's look at Cardano. Cardano is, let's see if we can, there we go. Cardano is, and this is a weekly chart. Is this the right one? Let's take a look and see if I can find. I think this might be the right one. I'm looking for, there we go. Yeah, well, yeah, that'll work. I'm looking for one that has a longer history. So our high up here is at, looks like that's 10. It says 42. Maybe, yeah, it says 42 cents per share, or per coin. That's the high. We're currently at about 5 cents per coin. Okay? So this coin has dropped drastically. And you probably haven't heard much about Cardano or ADA recently. Now, I bought this coin, I don't know, I want to say it was 12 cents. 12 cents a coin at the time. So I bought it on the way down. And the reason I bought it was because I liked the proposition that it offered. That proposition, of course, was that, one, it was created by a bunch of college professors who were using peer review to determine whether or not the code was going to do what they expected it to do. Okay. Also, they were writing it in a hardened fashion. Okay. What that means is hardened code. I'll give you an example of hardened code. If you get into an airline, the pilot, when he's moving the yoke, he's not physically connected to the flight surfaces of the plane. The yoke is connected to a computer, which then tells hydraulics what to do with the flight surfaces. So it's called fly-by-wire. There's no direct connection. It all goes through a computer. Well, what happens if someone hacks the code in that computer? Well, very bad things happen. So they harden that code to resist being hacked. Well, that's what Cardano is doing for ADA. Is they're hardening it so that it makes it more difficult to hack. The other thing that's going on, and Charles Huskinson, who is, I believe, a professor up here at CU, a few miles away from where I live, and is the face of Cardano, has talked about the fact that they're getting ready to introduce their main net. And one of the things that they are talking about with their main net is they are going to be distributed proof of stake. That phrase may ring a bell. Proof of stake is what Ethereum has been talking about for years. In fact, they've been talking about it so long that the difficulty bomb that Vitalik put into his code to make it to give incentive for the coders to creatively come up with a way to do proof of stake before the bomb went off. That was the original idea. He put in a difficulty bomb that will make it virtually impossible for proof of work to create new blocks as an incentive to get coders to come up with a better way, which is proof of stake, which is what Vitalik always wanted. Well, the problem is they've now moved that difficulty bomb back at least twice. Okay, if you can move the difficulty bomb from going off at this date and now move it back to this date, you already have a centralized system for your crypto. Well, this is one of the things I don't like about Ethereum. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't buy Ethereum. I think the Ethereum is going to go up in price. And if you want to know how high, take a look at the previous video I made about my prediction on Ethereum. But here's the thing. Cardano is coming up with and has said that they are going to reveal a way to do distributed proof of stake. One of the questions I've always had about Ethereum is, okay, if proof of stake means that those who have the most coins are the ones who are going to create the blocks, how do you keep that from becoming centralized? How do you not, because only a few people are ever going to have that many coins. So it is necessarily going to be centralized. Only a few people will ever be able to create blocks. And this is the problem. This is the whole problem, and why Vitalik has moved that difficulty bomb back yet again, is because they haven't figured out how not to make it a centralized mining operation. Well, Cardano, ADA, they are saying that they have figured out a way to do this. They have figured out a way to make proof of stake truly decentralized. If this is the case, once they release that, out into the wild and prove that this is in fact what is happening, what do you think is going to happen? Well, a couple of things. One, once they show that it is truly decentralized proof of stake, people are going to see that as valuable, and they're going to start buying. Price of ADA will go up. But the other thing is that everyone else who looks at that code is going to realize, again, this assumes that it works, everyone who looks at that code is going to realize, hey, this is the way to do it. And so now all these other proof of stake coins are going to borrow that code, and now proof of stake will be done the way that ADA does it. At least until someone comes up with a better way, which could be years down the road. This ability to influence and change other coins is highly valuable. I mean, let's face it, the most valuable coin in the world is Bitcoin, and it influenced and changed every other. It created, not directly, but it was the genesis of every other cryptocurrency in the world. People said, this is a wonderful, great way to create value. Let's do our own. Okay, well, it necessarily, because of that, becomes more valuable. So the same thing is going to happen, I believe, the same thing is going to happen with ADA and Cardano once they release this distributed proof of stake into the wild and show that it actually works. This is an example. I'm not saying to buy Cardano. I'm not saying not to buy Cardano. I'm simply pointing out, here's what I'm looking for when I buy a coin. Granted, I have owned this coin for going on over a year now. I bought it on the way down, but because I saw the value, and that value proposition never changed, it always seemed very valuable, and I understood we were in a bear market, prices are going to drop. I did not sell off this coin when I had the chance. Why would I sell it at a lower price? That's what novices in the market do. They buy at a price, it starts to drop, they panic, they sell for less than they bought it in. They lose money. This is why people lose money. Okay, it's bottomed out at 4 cents. It was, what was the price here? 4 cents? 3 cents. The high there was 3. So about 3 cents a coin is where the bottom was. Actually, if we look at it, there was a bottom here. 3.31 cents and 0.34 cents. So right around 3 cents a coin was the bottom. Okay. We're still close to the bottom we're currently at 5 cents. We've gone up 2 cents in the last 6 weeks. This means that this is still a coin to buy, to keep an eye on. I have done my research, and as always, you should do your own research. If you hear what I'm saying and you say, this is a great idea, I should buy some, before you take my word, don't ever take my word. Go look at the coin yourself. Go and do your own research. Then you can look at it and say, okay, I've done my research, I like what they're doing, this is something I want, or I don't like what they're doing, something doesn't seem right, I don't want to buy it. This is why we always say, do your own research. Make your own choices. Don't do something because some talking head on YouTube says, I like this, I'm going to buy this, or I have already bought this, or I own this. Don't ever do that. Make your own choices. This is not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. This is not advice of any type. This is simply some guy on YouTube who has 30 years of experience in the financial industry saying, here's what I see. I want to give you some information based on my experience. I'm not saying buy it. I'm not saying don't buy it. Anyway, this is what I had for you this week was when they say buy low, it means buy into things that nobody else is looking at. Buy into things preferably that everyone else hates at the time. Buy into the things that have value, that eventually someone is going to look at and say, hey, this is valuable, this is worth owning. Buy it before they do. That's how you write it up and you get the most return out of anything, is by getting in before everybody else does. And believe me, with Cardano and Civic and BAT and other altcoins that I believe are going to do well in this current bull run, I think we're going to see a lot of them jump up, way up in price. I would not be surprised to see Cardano go up to $10 a coin or higher. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Which would make it 20 times more valuable than it's ever been before. Like we've never seen that in crypto before. So that's what I've got for you this week. Do your research. Look for the coins that have value, that you see the value in. Do the research and determine for yourself. Is this what something I think others will find value in later? And if you do, if you believe in what they're doing, if you like what they say they're going to do, and you believe they are able to pull it off, that's the other thing. I've got a bunch of college professors working on this crypto. They're all math professors. Of course I think they're going to be able to pull this off. If they can't, no one can. So that's another reason for buying it, is because I believe the team behind it has the ability to do what they say they're going to do. So, until next week, keep hodling.